Why your long form isn't converting clients. Now, welcome. If you clicked on this video, you can clearly see that I'll be reading from this document. You might be wondering, why would you do that? Well, it's simply because I could choose to either read of a script like every other creator you watch online, or simply create a doc with every bit of information on it and provide the document to anyone who wants it. If you can't watch boring videos that don't have any fancy edits, click off this video right now because you will be bored to death. But if you want pure value from me, someone who owns a fully done for you agency that has worked with some of the biggest names social media has, people with millions of followers making hundreds of thousands every single month, then listen up, get a notepad out and enjoy the value. Part 1. The quiet problem almost every coach has, but doesn't recognize it yet. I want to start this by addressing the thing nobody actually wants to admit out loud. Most coaches think that they have a content problem, when in reality they have a conversion problem. And that's why their long form isn't converting. Because on the surface, the content looks fine. You're posting consistently, your videos have decent ideas, sometimes even great thumbnails. People are watching, liking and commenting here and there. But at the end of the month, you look at your pipeline and nothing has changed. Zero difference, no spike in inbound leads, no new people messaging with intent, no booked calls from YouTube search, no sales you can directly attribute to long form. The views go up, but the revenue stays the same. And what happens is every coach starts to blame the wrong thing. They blame the niche, they blame the platform, they blame the algorithm, they blame their audience size, they blame the time they have available, they blame burnout or inconsistency, they blame maybe I'm just not the YouTube type, when the real issue and the only issue is that their content has no conversion structure, not low quality content, not bad ideas, not lack of charisma, not lack of editing, not lack of time. It's that there is no conversion framework built into the long form video at the root level. And I want to walk you through this slowly and very clearly, because once you understand this, your entire perspective on YouTube will shift forever. The myth: long form will convert if it's valuable enough. This is the biggest trap coaches fall into. They assume if I just give more value, if I just make it clearer, if I just speak better, if I just go more in depth, if I just add more tips, frameworks, and examples, then people will convert. But value isn't what converts. Relevance converts, positioning converts, specificity converts, intent converts, search psychology converts, structural sequencing converts. Value is just the container people consume all of that through. You can give hours of value and still get 0 clients. You can give 20 minutes of the right value and convert like crazy. Most coaches don't understand that long form is not meant to be more content. It's meant to be the strategic entry point into the decision-making sequence your dream client is already going through. Why value alone fails? The client isn't ready to buy it. Think about your prospects like this. They're on YouTube because they're searching, they're comparing, they already feel the pain point, they already want the transformation, but they're not ready to commit money. So what long form needs to do is move them from I'm curious to I'm convinced in a single experience. Most coaches don't realize this. They create videos to teach, not to convert. Teaching focuses on sharing information, converting focuses on building belief. A converting long form video has to shift these 5 beliefs. The viewer must believe the problem is real. The viewer must believe the problem actually matters. The viewer must believe the solution is specific, not general. The viewer must believe your approach is superior. And the viewer must believe you can lead them. If your video doesn't build all 5 of those beliefs, it will never convert clients, no matter how many views you get, no matter how good the advice is, and that's the invisible reason creators struggle. Now, why your long form doesn't convert once again, but this is the root cause. Your long form is content, not conversion architecture. Most creators sit down and think, what should I teach today? What do people need to know? What topic should I talk about? What idea sounds good? But high converting long form creators think, what belief does a viewer need before they book a call? What pain point needs to become urgent? What misunderstanding needs to be corrected? What new lens do they need to see their situation through? What story builds authority without bragging? What shift pushes them towards taking action? One approach creates content. The other creates conversion. And most coaches make content. The viewer is learning, but not transforming. If your video is just teaching, even if it's brilliant, you're only feeding information. And information doesn't create clients, transformation does. A viewer becomes a client the moment they experience a belief shift, not a moment of learning. Learning makes them smarter, Belief shifting makes them take action. That is the difference. Your video doesn't position you, it blends you in. Most coaches teach the same frameworks, the same tips, the same ideas. Nothing your viewer hears makes them think, whoa, this person understands me in a way that no one else does. And if they don't think that, then they don't convert. Long form is the perfect place to demonstrate the way you think, the way you analyze, the way you diagnose problems, the way you explain, the way you structure solutions, and the way you see your client's world. If the video doesn't show that, you stay invisible, even if the content is good. Your call to action isn't aligned with your topic. This is another big mistake. Most coaches end their long form videos with a generic CTA, like, if you want to work with me, book a call. But if the video itself didn't warm them up for that decision, the CTA feels random. A CTA should feel like the next logical step, not an ask. The only way that happens is if the entire video is structured like a staircase, each part naturally leading to the next until the CTA feels inevitable. A call to action should feel like, obviously this is the next step, not, all right, here comes the pitch. You're not using search psychology to your advantage. Your viewer intentionally clicked the topic because they believed it would solve a specific problem. If the video doesn't directly satisfy that motivation, they won't convert. Now, something I want to say is long form content is kind of like business. Business only works if you're solving a problem, and that is the same with long form. High-level coaches get this wrong constantly. They teach around the topic, they give general explanations, they drift into tangents, they offer frameworks that don't match viewer intent. The viewer came for precision, they got generality, and conversion dies instantly. This is why your long form doesn't convert. Not because your content is bad, not because you're not talented, not because the niche is saturated, not because YouTube is too slow, not because your editor isn't good enough. It's because the content isn't architected to convert. Part 2. Why coaches with great offers still fail on YouTube and the conversion system that they're missing. I want to make something very clear up front because this is where 90% of coaches get blindsided. Your offer isn't the problem. Your service delivery isn't the problem. Your testimonials aren't the problem. Your niche isn't the problem. Your value isn't the problem. The problem is that none of that matters until someone actually believes it. And belief is not built on the sales call. It's built before the sales call, inside your long form content. But the reason most coaches fail to convert from long form is because they assume their offer will carry everything. I have great client results. My program is genuinely elite. The value speaks for itself. My coaching is better than most, but it doesn't work like that. YouTube doesn't reward the best coach. YouTube rewards the coach who communicates with the clearest conversion psychology. And this is the part coaches constantly underestimate. Long-form YouTube isn't just content, it's the pre-sale environment. Think of your video as a lobby before a sales call. This is where trust is built, where belief is built, where objections are handled without you even being present, where credibility is established without you bragging, where your unique methodology becomes obvious, where your viewer starts to see you as the person who understands their world better than anyone else. But most coaches upload long-form videos that do none of this. They record a 14-minute tutorial or a 22-minute value breakdown or a 9-minute mindset piece or a general 3 tips to format. And then they wonder, why is no one booking calls? Why are my viewers not turning into clients? It's not because the video is bad. It's because the video isn't designed to convert. Let's break down this clearly and calmly so you really internalize it. The difference between great content and great conversion content. And there is a massive difference between content that teaches and content that converts. Teaching content gives viewers information. Converting content gives viewers clarity. Teaching content tells the viewer what to do. Converting content tells the viewer why they haven't done it yet. Teaching content solves surface level problems. Converting content exposes root level problems. Teaching content is replaceable. Converting content is unforgettable. Teaching content blends you in. Converting content separates you immediately. And here's the most important piece. Teaching makes the viewer smarter. Converting makes the viewer ready. If your long form content doesn't make the viewer ready, it cannot convert no matter how valuable it is. This is the moment coaches go quiet because they realize, damn, everything I've been posting has been teaching, not converting. And that's exactly the blind spot I want to help you eliminate completely. Why coaches with great offers still struggle? Most coaches assume their long form is failing because my niche is too broad, my topic isn't flashy enough, I'm not posting enough, I'm not good on camera, my thumbnails need work, I don't have enough time, I'm not a natural storyteller, I need to go more viral. But the real reason they struggle is far simpler. Their long form video never puts the viewer into a decision making state. It never moves the viewer from I'm learning something new to I need help implementing this. Those are two completely different emotional states. Learning is passive, decision making is active. When your viewer is in a passive learning state, they enjoy the content, but they don't convert. When your viewer is in an active decision making state, they take the next step because they feel the internal pressure to solve their own problem now, not later. Your long form must create that internal pressure, not by fear, not by hype, not by manipulation, but by clarity. And clarity is the ultimate conversion tool. When someone sees the truth of their situation more clearly than they ever have before, they move toward the person who helped them see it. This is why long form is the strongest acquisition channel for coaches, because long form gives you enough time, depth, and space to create clarity. Short form can create awareness, ads can create interest, carousels can create curiosity, but only long form can shift belief deeply enough to move someone towards a high ticket decision. And that's why coaches who master long form scale their businesses like crazy, while everyone else stays stuck in outbound, DMs, referrals, and inconsistent income. The missing conversion system you need. There are 3 pillars every converting long form video must have. Not optional, not nice to have, not for advanced creators, mandatory. These are the pillars every 7-figure coach secretly uses, even if they don't realize they're using them. Pillar number 1, problem precision. You cannot convert a viewer unless they believe the problem they're experiencing is specific, important, and solvable. Most coaches generalize this problem. They speak vaguely, they speak broadly, they describe symptoms, not the underlying mechanism. Problem precision is when the viewer hears you and thinks, this person understands the exact thing I'm going through. They said it better than I could say it. That is when belief starts forming. Pillar number 2, mechanism clarity. Every converting video must explain the underlying mechanism causing the viewer's pain, why all the other solutions have failed, and the unique approach that finally solves it. When you articulate mechanisms better than anyone else in your niche, you become the authority by default. The viewer doesn't need to compare you to anyone. The decision is already made in their mind. Pillar number 3, future certainty. The final pillar is showing the viewer what their life looks like after the transformation in a grounded, real, non-hype type of way. Not visualize success, not imagine if everything changed, not your life will be perfect, but showing them the practical reality of how their business, income, time, energy, identity, and daily decisions evolve once the problem is solved. This is the emotional close built into content. A viewer cannot book a call unless they feel emotionally safe stepping toward the future. Future certainty creates that safety. Now, why most coaches never build this system? Because it feels like too much work, because they think long form is just posting value, because they assume people aren't watching long enough, because they chase virality instead of demand, because they think short form matters more, because they don't understand conversion psychology, because they don't understand search psychology, because they don't understand viewer intent, because they underestimate how smart their audience actually is. But here's the truth. Every coach who masters this system becomes unavoidable. Their videos rank, their videos convert, their videos compound, their audience grows with intent, their competitors get left behind, their business stabilizes, their revenue becomes predictable, and their brand becomes a magnet. And this is the difference between posting content and building a YouTube conversion ecosystem. Now, part 3, the psychology behind why your long form isn't turning viewers into clients. Now, we need to go deeper into the real reason your long form is not converting, because at this point in the doc, you understand the surface level things. You understand the difference between teaching and converting. You understand the missing pillars, but now we have to dive into human psychology that actually drives behavior on YouTube, because this is where everything finally clicks. And I want you to listen to this part carefully, because once you understand it, you'll never create long form content the same way again. Most coaches think YouTube is a platform where people come to learn, but that's actually not true. Most people come to YouTube to solve identity level problems. They might click for information, but they stay because the content speaks to something deeper, something they want to become, something they want to escape, something they want to fix, something they want to feel, or something they want to prove to themselves. If your content doesn't connect to that identity level desire, it cannot convert. It might perform well, it might get engagement, it might be valuable, but it will not convert buyers. Let me give you a simple explanation. You're a business coach, you teach scaling, you teach systems, you teach client acquisition. On the surface, the viewer wants more clients, but identity level, they want to feel competent, they want to feel in control, they want to feel respected, they want to feel secure, they want to feel like someone who has it together. They want to feel like someone who actually believes the person they envisioned when they started this business. And if your content doesn't touch the identity, they'll stay in passive mode. But when your content speaks to identity, they move into active mode, because identity creates action. Identity creates urgency. Identity creates decisions. This is why long form crushes every other platform for coaches. It gives you enough time to build identity level resonance. You're not just teaching, you're shaping belief. You're painting a picture of who they become with you. You're describing their inner world with more clarity than they have. You're articulating the conflict they feel internally every single day. You're explaining the deeper reason they're stuck, the real one, not the surface symptoms that they think they have. And when someone feels understood at that level, they trust you instantly, because humans don't follow the person who teaches them the most information. They follow the person who understands them the most deeply. And that is why your long form has to speak to identity. Now, why your current videos don't hit identity level. Most coaches create long form like this. They pick a topic they think is helpful. They write 3 to 5 talking points. They record a 10 to 15 minute explanation. They give you tips, frameworks, concepts, maybe a mindset shift. They wrap it up, add a CTA, and upload it. Once again, it's not bad content. It's just not designed for identity level conversion. Why? Because nothing in that format speaks to the emotional decision drivers. Nothing hits the viewer's internal conflict. Nothing highlights the cost of inaction. Nothing shows the deeper reason that they're stuck. Nothing exposes the gap between their effort and their results. Nothing creates tension. Nothing resolves tension. Nothing positions you as the person who can create their transformation. And that is why viewers watch but don't book. They're learning, they're entertained, they're intellectually stimulated, but they're not moved. To convert, a viewer has to be emotionally moved, not manipulated, not pressured, not hyped, just moved towards truth, moved towards clarity, moved towards a better future they now feel ready to step into. Long form must move them. If it doesn't move them, it cannot convert. And this is exactly where your content breaks down. Not because your value is bad, not because your niche is saturated, not because the algorithm hates you, not because people are lazy, not because your offer isn't unique, but because the emotional mechanics of conversion are missing. YouTube requires emotional engineering, and that's what you're learning now. The 5 emotional triggers every converting long form video must hit. This is where the real shift happens. There are 5 emotional triggers that all high converting long form videos hit, consciously or unconsciously. If even one of these is missing, conversions drop significantly. If 2 are missing, the video becomes pure value. If 3 are missing, the video blends in. If 4 are missing, the video becomes forgettable. If all 5 are present, the video becomes a conversion machine. So let's go through them one by one and break them down properly. Emotional trigger number 1, recognition. The viewer must feel recognized, not seen, recognized. Being seen means the coach acknowledges them. Being recognized means the coach understands them better than they understand themselves. Recognition lowers defensiveness. Recognition increases trust. Recognition opens the mind. So how do you create recognition? By articulating the exact internal experience the viewer is having, the thoughts they think, the frustrations they carry, the doubts they feel, and the patterns they repeat. When you describe someone's lived experience with accuracy, they feel recognized. And once they feel recognized, they will listen to you differently, because humans trust people who get them. Emotional trigger number 2, relief. Once the viewer feels recognized, the next emotional shift is relief. Relief that they're not crazy. Relief that someone finally understands. Relief that their situation makes sense. Relief that their problem has a cause, a real one. Not just lack of discipline, lack of motivation, or not working hard enough. Relief is powerful because it opens the door for belief. When someone feels relief, they become receptive to the solution. Without relief, they stay in resistance. Relief is created through mechanism clarity. When you explain why they're stuck clearly, calmly, and logically, the viewer feels relief because everything finally makes sense. Emotional trigger number 3, tension. Once relief is created, tension must be introduced. Tension is the emotional awareness that something must change. Tension is the realization that the cost of staying the same is too high. Tension is the awareness of the opportunity slipping away. Tension is the discomfort in recognizing the gap between their current identity and their desired identity. Tension is what moves the viewer from "I understand the problem" to "I need to fix this now." If there's no tension, there's no conversion. Long form content without tension is just education. Emotional trigger number 4, hope. Once tension is created, you must introduce hope. Hope is certainty. Hope is this is solvable, and here is why. Hope is that there is a path forward, and here is how it works. Hope is others have been exactly where you are, and the solution worked for them. You cannot convert a viewer who has no hope. You cannot convert a viewer who feels broken, and you cannot convert a viewer who believes they are an exception. Hope opens the door for the final emotional trigger, which is safety. This is the single most underrated conversion element on YouTube. The viewer must feel safe. Safe with you, safe with your process, safe with the next step, safe that they aren't being manipulated, safe that the transformation is realistic, safe that they won't be judged, safe that the action is grounded and rational. Safety is created through calm delivery, clear logic, grounded certainty, based reasoning, realistic expectations, transparent articulation of the process, and a CTA that doesn't feel like pressure, it feels like the next rational step. When someone feels safe, they convert. When someone doesn't feel safe, they hesitate. In long form, safety is built through tone, pacing, structure, clarity, and grounding. And this is where most coaches accidentally lose conversions. The emotional psychology of their delivery is off. Now, finally, bringing it all together, kind of wrapping up this video. So as we wrap this up, I want to take a second and really sit with what we just walked through. Because if you made it this far, you already know this wasn't just another "here's how to get better videos" breakdown. This was the blueprint behind why so many coaches stay stuck, and why a small handful quietly turn their long form content into a machine that prints authority, demand, and clients without ever begging for attention. You've learned why your long form content might look great on the surface, but still fails to convert. You've seen the real reason viewers don't automatically equal trust. You've seen how small gaps in narrative structure, emotional tension, or positioning can completely sabotage the way a viewer perceives you. And you've also seen how simple shifts in intention, framing, storytelling, pacing, and depth can completely transform the impact of your videos. You now understand that long form isn't about sounding smart. It's not even about showing how much you know. It's not even about teaching. It's about creating moments where your viewer feels seen, challenged, understood, and guided. Moments that make them think this person gets it better than anyone else. Moments that quietly build a relationship every single minute they keep watching. You learn the difference between content that just informs and content that leads. You learn how clarity beats complexity, how emotional resonance beats expertise alone, and how one well-placed insight beats 10 generic tactics. You also learned how the creators who win are the ones who create from identity, not insecurity. You learned how to diagnose the issues in your own videos, the pacing, the structure, the delivery, the transformations, the lack of narratives, and you learned how to rebuild your content so it actually converts by aligning every second with intention, authority, and relevance. And now you're walking away with something more powerful than tips. You're walking away with the entire framework, the awareness, the lens, the new operating system, because once you see why it doesn't convert, you can't unsee it. And once you understand the mechanics behind truly effective long form, every video you create from this point forward has the potential to hit deeper, last longer, and build more trust than anything you've published before. So take a breath, let it land, let it simmer a little bit, and then take everything you've learned here, everything we unpacked, and let it shape the way you create moving forward. Because when your long form content finally clicks into alignment, the clients follow naturally because your message became impossible to ignore. Now, I don't like adding CTAs because I'm genuinely here just to help you guys out. I literally have 4 DM setters on different accounts, which signs me a lot of clients. So this is just for value and educating. But if you do need help with YouTube, saving your time and having everything fully done for you other than recording, book a call in the description.